We have two types of helmets. There's a blue helmet and a red helmet. The blue is kind of a medium size, and the red helmet is for anyone with big heads. So I don't know if
Big city life, me try forget my pressure now ease up no matter how hard me try. Big city life in my heart.
We did an awful lot of research by looking at other bike touring companies in other countries around Europe and South America and even New York, believe it or not. And we decided to implement it here and thought it was a great way to get people on a bike and also give them a great flavour of Dublin from a different angle.
There was also a huge increase in the Dublin bike scheme that was just introduced, and you could see nearly at every traffic light there'd always be 2, 3 or 4 cyclists. So this area just that we're standing in now, it's a great example of Georgian Dublin. And when we talk about the Georgian period, we're talking about the 1700s up into the early 1800s. So just to point out that the Georgian doors themselves, they generally were double doors, so there would have been 2 doors. And with that, you can see on some buildings they actually still have the split going down the middle. And the reason for it was that you would have had a man walking through maybe one door, but when a woman arrived they would have had a grander entrance. And as I was saying, not because they were overweight, but it was mainly because the Georgian period they would have had quite large dresses, so they just needed the wider entrance in order to walk through the door.
Dublin is a perfect size city for actually seeing the city on a bike, and it's very easy to cycle around because it is flat, and it makes it much easier for everybody.
Well, we obviously looked for the kind of trying to access all the main areas, but taking the quietest routes, the safest cycling areas. And it's great with the new Grand Canal cycle lane opening up this summer. That's going to be the backbone of our tour to a certain extent. But we studied really Google Maps. You know, that was the best way to do it. We were able to kind of pick and choose. We have specifically chosen our junctions just to, if we're coming up to a junction, to be able to turn left, etc., etc. You know, so it's just easier for everybody to get around. The Vikings, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, they would have settled, and they say that 67 boats sailed into Dublin Bay back in 837. So that was when they arrived initially the first time, and after that they eventually settled just around Dublin Castle. Just swinging over here, you actually have this new building here called the Tube in the Cube, is what we call it. Yeah, it's basically our new convention centre in Dublin. And traditionally convention centres themselves don't actually make a profit. It's everything around them that makes money. There's lots of students who come on our tours, backpackers, and they're looking for fun. They want to find out where to go in Dublin, where the music is happening, good value restaurants. This area here that we're standing at is called Windmill Lane. And Windmill Lane basically was the first recording studios of U2. We're very much kind of giving an overall view of the city, but we throw in snippets of history, characters, stories as well. So it kind of all knits together to give them an overview of the city and to increase their time here, the value of their time.
Hot town, sun in the city, back of my neck getting dirty pretty. Bend down, isn't it a pity? Doesn't seem to be a shadow in the city.
Not many people know, but there's actually a river flowing just underneath us here. It's called the River Poddle, and it flows underneath that tower down towards the River Liffey. The story goes as well that the scales, when they were first produced, they filled with water and they actually became unbalanced. And in Ireland we would have often thought that historically the justice system was unbalanced if you go back over the hundreds of years, because generally the Protestant ascendancy would have had a lot more of the power and the Catholics were almost like second-class citizens.